Jake Allen is set to become an unrestricted free agent. Will Jake the Snake return or will he play elsewhere come next season? We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Chalky play announcer, Devils Writer Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. In the previous episode, I mentioned briefly that Jake Allen is a pending UFA and he might be making his way out of New Jersey. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Jake Allen and what he's brought to the organization the past year and a half, but there's this old saying, money talks. Given the performance that Jake Allen put up this season, he might be looking at other opportunities. In the first segment, we will reflect on his 2024-2025 season. We will also hear from Jake Allen as he shared his thoughts as to how he performed this year. Then in the second segment, we will go into more detail about his upcoming free agency, and I will make a decision. Do I think it's worth it for the Devils to bring back Jake the Snake? And then in the third and final segment, let's just say hypothetically, Jake does not return. What are the Devils' options here? I think they already have someone that they could possibly turn to. I'm not saying this is the most likely outcome. I'm just saying, let's not forget about this particular player because he performed really well in the few games he was given. I'm talking about Nico Daws. All right. Before we talk about the 2024-2025 season for Jake the Snake, let's go back to the 2024 trade deadline. The Devils were in desperate need of goaltending to salvage what was left of their abysmal season. They got Jake Allen and Kaapo Kähkönen. If you're curious, Kähkönen was mostly in the AHL. He most recently played for the Manitoba Moose. He appeared in 22 games. He had a record of 6-14-1. He had a goals against average of 3.29 and a save percentage of .885. Kind of a far cry as to what he put up with the Devils to close out the 2023-2024 season. Remember when a lot of people were saying that the Devils should just bring back Kähkönen and not go for Markstrom? I saw a few people put that out on social media. I'm just like, what are you doing? But anyway, let me shift the focus back to Jake Allen. To close out the 2023-2024 season for Allen, he appeared in 13 games. He had a record of 6-6-1. He had a goals against average of 3.11 and a save percentage of .900. I don't think the numbers do Jake justice because he was really good based on what I saw. He passed the eye test for me. I just think he didn't really get that much help in front of him. But I was just like, okay, Allen flashed enough potential for me to say, I think this could work, but he cannot be the go-to guy for Devils. He needs to be the backup. Fitzy needs to get somebody else. And Fitzgerald established that going into last year's offseason. What happened? He brought in Jacob Markstrom. And I was like, okay, I think this duo can work because Allen won't have too much pressure on his shoulders. He was already solid with the Devils. Now, can he build on that? And man, did he take giant leaps forward. I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks because a lot of people forget Allen's been in the league for many, many years. How long has he been in the league? Well, he was teammates with Martin Brodeur when Brodeur finished his career in St. Louis. I get it. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but that's how old Allen is. But 2024-2025 season for Allen, he appeared in 31 games. He had a record of 13-16-1. He faced 819 shots. He allowed 77 goals. He had a save percentage of .906, a goals against average of 2.66. He had 15 quality starts, and he recorded 4 shutouts. He and Jacob Markstrom were actually tied for 4th most shutouts in the NHL. They were tied alongside former Devil Mackenzie Blackwood, Sam Montembeault, UC Soros, Aiden Hill, Ilya Sorokin, Anthony Stolarz, Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman, you name it. I would say that Allen and Markstrom were one of the more underrated duos in the entire NHL. They were big reasons why the Devils were able to get to the playoffs this season. I actually asked Allen about the matter during exit interviews. Here's what he had to say.
Do you feel like the goaltending was somewhat underrated and then like an underrated piece to the puzzle throughout the entirety of the year?
I mean, that's more of a question that you can probably comment on than me. I'm just doing my job. I think we all, if you look back at it collectively from me, Dawsy, Markey, I think we all had pretty solid seasons. We're always never going to say we're fulfilled, but I think for the most part, we gave our team chances, and that's what we're supposed to do.
Did Markstrom turn out to be the type of partner you envisioned when he came over?
I know last year, obviously, at the end of the year, Fitzy told me he was going to get someone. That's all he said, and he obviously met his word and brought in Markey. And listen, I played against Markey since we were 17 years old, so I've known him for 18 years, and to be able to play with him and know what type of goalie and person he is, I think our partnership worked out really well for the group and both of us individually and collectively. And it's different when you're playing with an older guy too. I think you can really embrace and understand sort of what's going on around you. And I thought it just worked out well for the group.
Well, here are my thoughts on the matter. Yes, I would say that Markstrom and Allen were indeed very underrated for the Devils because a lot of people had a lot of complaints when it came to the Devils this season. They don't have any depth. They don't have any physicality. Jack and others are getting injured far too frequently. But what was one area that little to no people complained about? It was the goaltending. And honestly, I think a lot of people owe Markstrom and Allen an apology because remember when people were trying to write off both those goalies early on in the season? And I was just like, no, they're passing the eye test. Just give it some time. Come the end of the season, I don't think anybody complained about Allen or Markstrom, especially in the playoffs. I get that we didn't get the chance to see Allen, and that's for good reason. That means Markstrom was doing his job. But I'm going to talk about it in a future episode. The duo of Markstrom and Allen, also Daws stepping in time and time again. It was very impressive to see. And the fact that each of those goalies recorded at least one shutout, it goes to show you that the Devils took huge strides in their goaltending. And that's been a big issue ever since Brodeur retired. I was rather impressed when Allen stepped up in wake of the absence of Markstrom in mid-January. Remember, Markstrom got injured. Allen had to step into a bigger role. And I felt as though he held down the fort. He talked about that opportunity during exit interviews. He was asked about it by Bill Spaulding. Take a listen.
It was important to you to have that month and a half where Markey went down and you were playing basically the everyday load. That I'm sure you believed it, but you could show it that you can still take on that every day, every game type of load.
Yeah, it was an opportunity for me. I think that's a big thing in this league is opportunity. You don't know when it's going to happen. Obviously, I had an opportunity a long time ago, 15 years ago when I first played my game, and you got to make do of it in this league because there's so many other people that want your spot. And obviously we lost our number one goalie, which isn't good. You never want that to happen, but especially when he was playing so well at that time. But I was excited. It just gives me a chance, to play. I knew internally that I still have a lot of good hockey left, and felt that I had a pretty good year.
I think it's safe to say Allen surpassed expectations, and he was one of the reasons why the Devils were somewhat successful this year. It'll be a shame to watch him go. Yes, I'm already making that prediction early. Why am I making that sort of prediction? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop mismanaging your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Okay, Jake Allen is a pending UFA, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. Allen is getting up there in age. He's 34 years old. I don't think his next contract is going to be a big one, but it's not going to come cheap for the Devils. Now, before I give my thoughts on the matter, here's what Allen had to say about his pending unrestricted free agency and where his headspace is at. Take a listen.
Do you anticipate being one of those pieces to the puzzle next season?
That's a question that I can't answer right now. I have really nothing to say about that right now.
Would you be open to coming back if this situation presented itself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open. I'm never going to shut a door. Like I said, I enjoyed my time here. My family has a good setup. But we'll let those things take care of themselves and see where we come in July.
Remember, the Canadiens were so desperate to get rid of Allen that they retained half of his salary when he was dealt to the Devils. They basically just said, we don't want him. Here, we'll retain half of his contract. They basically gave the Devils a big gift because Allen rejuvenated his career with the Devils. Or maybe not rejuvenated. He's already an established champion, but you get the point I'm just trying to make. He and the Canadiens sort of ended on a sour note, and I think it's safe to say that his stock went up a little bit, and now it comes down to, can the Devils afford him? This is where reality starts to set in because, once again, the Devils were given a gift by the Canadiens, but given the free agents available in the goalie market, I would say that Allen is one of the best, if not the very best. According to AFP Analytics, Jake Allen is projected to earn a 2-year, $7 million contract, $3.5 million annual value. Here are some other notable UFA goalies: Ilya Samsonov, Alexander Georgiev, Alex Lyon, Anton Forsberg. It's not really a strong class when it comes to UFA goalies. So Jake Allen is certainly going to get a bag. I just don't know if it's going to be here in New Jersey. So if I had to make a prediction, I don't think Allen is going to be back on the roster come next season for the Devils. And it's a shame because Allen was really solid in between the pipes for the Devils the last year and a half. He really made it work with Jacob Markstrom, and I'm glad that they were able to work as a really good tandem, but I think the Devils are going to have to look in a different direction. Now, courtesy of Nick Villano of Pucks and Pitchforks, he actually wrote an article and said that the Devils might look at the open market for a goalie, but the problem is that Luke Hughes' contract, that certainly is going to take a priority. The Devils have about $12 million in cap space available. So you got to try to figure out how that contract will form, and then you can start to build the rest of your roster. I said it in the prior episode. I think best case scenario for the Devils is to trim the fat around the Hughes extension, similar to what James Nichols said on social media. Fitzy is going to have to get unique, and he's going to have to make some difficult decisions. He's going to have to cut ties with a decent amount of players. I don't think Nathan Bastian will return. I don't think Tomas Tatar will return. I love Curtis Lazar. I hope the Devils take a lot into consideration and give him a respectable look just to see, like, you know what? He was injured, but he was good in the prior years he was here. Do we roll the dice on him? Do we give him the vet minimum? Those are decisions that are going to have to be made. Honestly, I'm on the fence when it comes to Curtis Lazar. I wouldn't mind if he returns, but it's going to be difficult just based on the other priorities. Jake Allen, I don't think enough people are talking about him being a UFA, so I don't think he's going to return. We'll just have to wait and see how the offseason goes for the Devils, but those are my thoughts on Jake Allen. He's just a luxury that the Devils cannot afford at this time. Teams are going to have to make difficult decisions to improve their rosters. The Devils are no exception. Now, it's not all bad for the Devils because they have a really good pipeline when it comes to goalies. We'll talk about this player momentarily, but remember, Mike Yegorov was killing it for the Boston University Terriers. Obviously, I'm not saying the Devils should sign him to his ELC and then bring him over and have him be the backup. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, the Devils, when it comes to goaltending, I think their future is very bright. And I think a lot of people need to remember that they got Yegorov, who has been compared to like Martin Brodeur by the Omaha Lancers play-by-play announcer. Take it however you want to take it. I talked about it in a prior episode, but I spoke to Jay Pandolfo about it. Remember, Pandolfo's won 2 Stanley Cups with the Devils alongside Brodeur. He said that he saw some similarities, but we'll just have to wait and see. But who else is in the pipeline for the Devils? Nico Daws was really good in the games that he appeared in. Now, I'll talk about Daws in a future episode and do a retrospective episode on his 2024-2025 season. But real quick, the 24-year-old appeared in 6 games. He had a record of 3-1. He had a save percentage of .939. He had 1 shutout, and he had a goals against average of 1.6. Pretty incredible if you ask me. Now, here's the thing. Out of the 6 games that Daws appeared in this season, 5 of them were due to the fact that he and Allen were holding down the fort because Markstrom was dealing with his injury. In those 5 games, he had a goals against average of 0.88, a save percentage of .966, and had 3 wins. Pretty incredible work by Nico Daws, given the circumstances and given the shoes that he had to fill. I think Nico Daws, he's had enough time in the NHL, both this past season and last season, to be given some consideration to be the backup goalie. Obviously, I think the Devils are going to try to explore all avenues, but let me just say this. Jacob Markstrom is getting up there in age, but he did say during his exit interview that if Tom Fitzgerald calls his line, he's picking right up. He will answer the phone. You never know. How much longer can Jacob Markstrom play? Similar to Jake Allen, he's getting up there in age. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Nico Daws has shown tremendous growth these past few seasons. Nick Villano touched on it in one of his more recent articles for Pucks and Pitchforks. Now, that doesn't have to be your only solution. Explore all possible avenues. But don't forget, Nico Daws was also really good for the Devils this year. I just wanted to make that point. Just for fun, I asked Jake Allen, does he see any similarities with how the Devils are currently constructed to his championship team in 2019 with the Blues? What does it take to have that sort of roster? Here's what he had to tell me.
Do you see any similarities from that championship run to maybe what the Devils could potentially do in the future?
I mean, every team's different. You're never going to have the same group of guys every year, especially that group in St. Louis. We had a special group, but I think the thing that we had there was just 4 lines that were rolling, and I thought that's when we were at our best this year. When we had all 4 going, that's when we were at our best, and I think that's what championship teams need, and that's where we'll probably have to get to here.
All right, Fitzy, you heard Jake Allen. All 4 lines need to contribute. So Allen is saying that the Devils need more depth. And if that's the final time we see Jake Allen associating with the Devils. It was a great ride. I know it was only for a season and a half, but I think he did really great work. Let me know your thoughts. Do you want to see Jake Allen return to the Devils? Keep in mind, I don't think they're going to be able to afford it. If not, did you like the Jake Allen experience? I'll call it that. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcast streaming service, hit me up on my personal X page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.